All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Danger Ranger podcast. This is episode 3. I'm your host, Zach Allred. This is about my fourth take now of this podcast. My first full 25 minutes that I shot, I realized that my mic was not connected to my computer properly, so it did not record on the mic, and it was the computer mic, and it was terrible audio quality, so came out here to reshoot it, and then the mic was not wanting to connect to the computer, period, so I was fighting with that for about a half hour. So now I am thoroughly annoyed at the tech situation we got going on here, but we are driving on. Real quick, I've got these M81 Woodland SMG rigs that are going to be going live on rockwelldesigns.com. That is rockwell-designs.com on this Friday. I think it's the 17th? Yeah, it's the 16th. Friday the 16th at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You can sign up for our email list at rockwell-designs.com. It's in the description down below. I will also be having a restock of the 6-cell Ranger Green SMG rigs as well. I know that those were the more popular variant that I've produced, so I'm making a quick little batch of those this week and getting those up and live, and they should be shipping out next week while I start working on the M81 AK rigs. So we'll keep this a little shorter than I had initially shot, and I'm going to try and do it in one take so I don't have to edit this because it is late now. So I'm just going to talk quick about relationships inside the Army, and obviously specifically for me inside of Ranger Regiment. And I'm going to kind of explain where I kind of went wrong and what I wish I would have done differently had I, been afforded the opportunity to go back in time and tell myself, but that's okay. It's always 2020 with the hindsight, so you can't really beat yourself up over things. You just got to learn from them and move on. It's only a mistake if you continue to make it. So my first girlfriend, I started dating while I was still in high school. I started dating her about 3 months prior to me shipping out. She was a friend of mine for about 2 years. We worked at a scout camp together a couple years previous to us starting to date. She was 3 years older than me in college. I was, senior in high school, 18 years old. And our entire relationship was pretty much long distance. We were, at least at the time, pretty head over heels for each other somehow. The majority of our relationship was long distance, and most of it was, through letters, which is difficult nowadays, I think, for some people. And just the concept of having to wait for communication and not having that instant communication is definitely a challenge that needs to be overcome when you're, in the military. So things were good for the most part for the first, few months before I shipped off to basic, and then basic training, you don't get your phones barely at all. Like, you get them like once or twice, at least when I went. So we didn't really talk beyond the letters, and graduated. She came to my graduation, and then I went to airborne school, and you get your phone in airborne school. So we talked pretty frequently during that. Things were going well. And then RASP came around, and I started RASP in November of 2015, and we were going to get holiday block leave in the middle of that. And by this point, things were kind of getting a little weird with her, and she was kind of distracting from the mission of graduating and passing RASP. And December rolls around, I get holiday block leave. I go home. We had a little vacation planned up for one of the ski canyons in Utah. And things were a little weird on that, and I was like, man, there's something up, there's something off. My spidey senses are tingling. Granted, she was the first woman I've ever dated, but I mean, I could sense that something was up, and confronted her about it after Christmas, and she broke up with me, and I was like, oh, okay. So, a couple days before I had to go back to RASP for phase 2, and that was pretty hard, as it was my first actual relationship, first real heartbreak, in the middle of me going through a selection program, which is already hard on its own, and then you add in some major life event like that, like your first actual, heartbreak, and it was pretty difficult. I think the worst day I remember it distinctly was we were doing it was one of the breaching days, and we were up building charges and blowing doors, and I just remember sitting behind the shield watching these charges blow up and just being just so miserable. Like, most dudes would be pretty excited about, blowing stuff up, but I was just like beat up over this girl. So graduated RAS. She came out to my RAS graduation, which was a little awkward. But we kind of like tried to make up. Like, we obviously weren't going to be, dating. But I was still kind of, hoping that it would work out somehow, and realized that wasn't going to happen. So I showed up to 1st Ranger Battalion, and the first couple months were pretty heavy on the training. We had MLAT, which is a big airfield seizure event, like pretty much immediately after I showed up. That went for a couple weeks, and then right into doing EIB. And so I was pretty busy, and then as soon as we finished that, one of my TADs in my squad was like, "Yo, dude, like, you on Tinder yet, bro?" He's like, giving all the privates trash, or giving them shit. I was like, no. I was like, I've never even heard of Tinder. So I hop on there, and I end up matching with this chick, and we go on a couple dates, and then mistakenly I decided to start officially dating her. She was this bookish, SCAD student, animation and film student, and kind of a mistake, definitely looking back on it. But I was, young and dumb, a 19-year-old still. So started dating this chick, dated her through Ranger School. We dated for about a year before I went to Ranger School. It was like a little less than a year, and then shipped off to Ranger School, did that. And like throughout Ranger School, I was there for like 6 months, which is another story for another time. And during the course of that, especially towards the end, I was like realizing like, hey, like, I rushed into this relationship. This girl is nowhere near right for me. She's too soft-spoken. She doesn't drink water. She doesn't like to go outside. She doesn't like to exercise. Just not a good fit for who I am and who I was, becoming. So I broke up with her pretty much right after I graduated, called it off, and was much better off for it. So there's the down and dirty. Now here's the takeaway for y'all, regardless of whether you're in the Army or not. So what I allowed these 2 women to do was distract and really kind of interrupt my my life goal at the time, which was, make it to Ranger Regiment, which had been my goal since I was about 13. And I had let these 2 women almost distract me and make me lose my dream and lose sight of my dream. And thankfully, though, I managed to pull through and pull out of that. And I just wonder what it would have been like had I been completely laser focused. I mean, I made it, yes, but how much better could I have been showing up in to Ranger Regiment had I not had these women to distract me? Would I have passed Ranger School, if I didn't have these back of my mind concerned about my girlfriend? Would I have been able to make it through in one go, versus, the 6 months I was there? I don't know. Fun fact, I did have an inclination that this first girl had cheated on me, and I confronted her about it when she broke up with me. I was like, is there anyone else? Like, you can just tell me. Like, I'd rather you just tell me, and then it'll be easier, because then I can be mad at you instead of just sad and wondering what the hell's going on. She said, no, there's no one else. And then I wrote to her, because we were still on like talking terms, like a year or so after we broke up. And I asked her, or I think she just straight up confessed to me that she had lied, and she in fact was cheating on me while I was in airborne school. So I was like, oh, well, okay, my instincts are pretty spot on. I kind of knew, kind of sensed that. So now I kind of knew what that would feel like going on and having other relationships. Like, if you have that suspicion, like, don't ignore it, like, listen to your gut instincts. Like, they're not going to lead you wrong very often if you know how to interpret them, and not just shoot from the hip. Oh, make baseless accusations, like, oh, it feels like you're cheating on me. Like, no, like, there was a lot more that went into that feeling, obviously, than just it being weird. I don't know if that makes any sense, but we're gonna move on. Yeah, this one's gonna be way shorter than the initial one. That's fine. So, moral of the story is, don't let women distract you from your goals, especially if you're younger. It's not worth it. to be honest. Like, yeah, like you can, date. I wouldn't recommend getting super involved with a woman early on into your life. It's just, it can lay low a lot of your dreams. There's a lot of things that could happen with that. And if you're a man that has a goal and has an ambition, like, women should be secondary to that. Like, you should definitely strive and go for whatever dream or idea you've got going on in your head above everything else. And again, not saying that you can't, you can't have women, you can't date women, you can't sleep with women, whatever. Just realize that they can pull you off that path. Women have some ability to sense men who are on an upward trajectory, and they like to come and suck the lifeblood out of you. I've seen it happen. I've almost had it happen to me. So it's a real thing. So just be careful with who you choose to heavily associate and get romantically involved with. To wrap this shorter episode up, I'm going to talk and tell a story about how eating raw liver almost killed me. So this was about a year ago. I had been reading a lot of literature about traditional and ancestral foods and following a few of these kind of influencers. This was, I think, before Liver. This was definitely before Liver King like blew up in popularity. But I was like, I got back from my 2021 deployment, and I was like, I'm gonna try this raw liver stuff. It sounds super great. Like, boost my test. Like, superfood, get all these vitamins, nutrients. I'm gonna give it a shot. And I went to the butcher shop. They had some cheap liver, and it was like a couple bucks for a pound. So I bought like 3 or 4 pounds of it, and came home. Came home and stashed most of it in the freezer rather, and kept a little bit out. And the next morning I was like, I'm gonna make myself a liver smoothie. So this is where I kind of goofed up. You're supposed to use like apple cider vinegar. I use orange juice for some reason. Don't really remembering. I mean, it was obviously because I wanted something like acidic, I think. I don't remember exactly the logic, but I didn't have any apple cider vinegar. And I also used thawed raw liver from, looking back on it, kind of a questionable source. So I blended up this smoothie, slugged it down, gagging most of the way. I was like, man, this stuff's nasty. And it was fine the first day. The next day I went grocery shopping, and I was feeling real bad. I was like, man, I'm coming down with like, the flu or the plague or something. We got home, and I was just dying, straight pissing out my ass. And I was like that for about 24 hours. And after those 24 hours, I was, struggled to get myself downstairs to try and like eat some bread or something on my stomach, because I hadn't eaten for like, 24, 48 hours at this point. So I come downstairs and I'm like dying, and I know that I need to get some fluids in me. Luckily, I am my roommates are also Rangers, and one of them is a Ranger medic, and the group in general, also being degenerate alcoholics, have a steady supply of IVs and IV material. So I call my buddy Jimmy downstairs, and he takes one look at me. He's like, bro, you look like you're about to die. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I feel like it. Can you please, for the love of God, push some IVs and some saline into me? I'm about to keel over. It was bad. Like, I was like, if I hadn't gotten that IV, I probably would have had to go to urgent care, the emergency room. Probably should have still, but I was like, nah, like I'm gonna ride this one out. I got my 500 milligram or 500 milliliter bag of saline, and I was like, I felt pretty good after that, and that was the turning point. I kind of started recovering from there, but it was pretty dark for a little bit there. I was like, man, I don't know, is this raw liver gonna kill me? And I was kind of confused initially. I was like, man, there's no way the liver did that to me. Like, there's no way I got food poisoning from this. And that was wrong. So I do want to try some raw liver again. Probably source it from directly from a farmer or someone who, kills their own cows instead of just some random set of liver at the butcher shop. Just to prove that I ain't scared of no foodborne pathogen. It has been over a year since I have had raw liver, though, so maybe it is winning a little bit. But going to try it again. And this time, hopefully, it doesn't try to kill me. Yeah, that's about it for tonight. Let me know down below if you want to hear about anything in particular from me. If you got any questions specific to regiment or the Army or whatever, I'll be happy to answer them, probably in video format. Just sometimes it's a little bit easier than replying to individual comments. I can just, get a big stack of them and answer them in one fell swoop, if you will. Thanks for everyone who subscribed so far. I think we're over 300 subscribers on the channel, which is dope, which is more than I've got on my personal Instagram, actually. So be a deer. Go check out the links in my bio or the video description. Not the link in my bio. This is an Instagram. For my business page, Rockwell Designs, where I've got, cool gear like this. I've got some AK stuff coming up this month. And my personal is in there as well. Like, that's going to be more, more about me, more cool stuff. I'm just getting started. So it'd be cool to have you follow me. Like the video. I'm a YouTuber now. I got to say it. Like the video, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.